Hey, this is Lisalee, and I'm coming to you with my face. I don't usually do that, but I wanted to talk about this. I want to always switch the format out. I always want to switch the format out. I want to be able to speak English. I always want to be able to switch out the format because otherwise I get bored and I don't want to be bored. So today what we're doing is I'm going to address you about what the reading is about and like why I decided to do it, and then the readings below. Two parts a little bit. So the reason why I wanted to do this reading was because I posted a TikTok and it was the cards that came out. It was like the Sun and like Ace of Cups and Six of Wands. It was like one awesome card after another. And so the reading was, there's something really cool. Like, look at that, look at this. But below in the comments, someone sort of like swam into the stream of this conscious, you know, like of this collective, and the comment was like, I'm getting a divorce right now. And I thought like, wow, the contrast between what came through and what this person experienced. And like, as readers, we cast out that net and we expect spirit to come and like do the work, and spirit does, you know, but it doesn't always resonate, because if it always resonated, it wouldn't be magic. And so we need a little, so this person swam in and they left this comment, and I read it and I thought to myself, like, that is who I want to do the reading for. I want to do the reading for somebody who's going through a divorce right now, or somebody who is in it right now, or someone who has had just traumatic loss or traumatic anything. And with a lot of stuff, with most, I don't know how people skip it, right? But I think that you have to walk through this stuff. Like, I do think you have to look at it. And so, and sometimes you just need someone to like hold your hand through the valley of death. And so like, and that sounds like kind of grandiose, but like I was thinking, channel Hecate and walk you through and out of the valley of death. Like, this is, I know, but like, let's do it, because you know, this is something we're gonna do today. I've got the cards laid out. I'm doing the thing that I do, and let's walk through the valley of death together. And my intention is catharsis and healing. If you want to join me and agree with me in that intention, we can go into this reading together. And let's do it. Okay, let's begin. So I always start with an intention candle. And right now the intention is healing, catharsis, and also fun. I think we should have some fun, because if we're going to be down there in the depths, we might as well be laughing a little bit. So that is my intention. Oh man, what does that mean? What does it mean? And I don't have another match, which really, that's like telling. So let's just get another match and then find out what we have to rephrase. Okay, so before we set the intention, let's talk about, we're channeling Hacate, and that was what needed to come through first. So now we can set the intention candle and light it. Right, and so the intention is clear channeling with an intention of healing, catharsis, revelation. Hecate says revelation, and bringing through lots of love and creating this kind of a portal of love is what I'm looking at. So let's open that door, and now we can begin. So here we are. I'm going to speed up the shuffle. Okay, let's take a look at this together. So I always like to acknowledge the bottom of the deck energies before we begin looking at the spread writ large. I don't know if I always do that, but I want to start remembering to, because I think it's important. You know, we walked into this looking to like tackle some of the stuff, like the tough stuff. And so we do have, of course, on the bottom of this deck, we've got a 10 of Swords. This is a really painful ending. And on the bottom of this deck over here, we've got the 2 of Cups of what there was once a recognition there. And so there's an angel, right? That we want to be aware of. Like, we are walking through this. We're walking through this in very good hands. And then kindred spirits. So I just want to like point out, this is not a substitute for mental health care at all. I do think in addition to everything else, a spiritual connection is just a priceless value that like doesn't need to be anything but what it is. So that said, not a substitute, but definitely good to have a spiritual practice with everything that you're dealing with. Okay, so let's start here. And take a deep breath. I'm going to take a deep breath because the energy in here, I actually have to stretch for a second. The energy in here is kind of like, oof. It's a little bit dense of air, right? So with the shaman here. So this is interesting. Let me just get some water. When I, like, so I wanted to channel Hecate, the energy, and when she appeared to me, there was a veil, and I was like, what? I was like, why? Like, I was like, that's a little creepy. You know what I mean? Like, it makes me a little uncomfortable. And so I was asking about this veil, and what I got was really cool. And it was, she showed me like a womb, or, you know, it was like, that was the image, was like a womb. And this like idea of falling, like being brave enough to, here's what it is, to not be afraid of the strange and unknown. Like the strange and unknown. And then I saw this womb, and the message that came through is like, when you're in the womb, there's no explaining, you know, what the world you're in is or what the world you're going into is. There's just the sustenance, and there's just that you are growing, and there's a magic in that, and there's something to be valued in that. And so, you know, where we're entering this reading, you know, what we're getting is like, you know, let's not be afraid of the unknown, because a lot of us are entering the unknown right here. And with this handout, you know, like what's being acknowledged is like, you're met by the universe, and it doesn't feel like it does it, right? And so like, that's like, you know, that's one of the more painful messages that's coming through. And wow, you know, it's interesting because like I channel all kinds of different energies, and this is so, like, the pain with this is really pure. I don't know why that's important to say, but I just needed to say it. So there's this the hand is out to the universe, and it's like, where are you, right? And so Hacate kind of wants to say, like, I want you to develop a different relationship to what it is to receive. Just like generally speaking, like overall, there's this like nagging thing. There's this question that I'm hearing, and it's like, what do you need help with? And the answer is, I have no idea. I just am drowning. I happen to be drowning. But if someone comes up and says, what can I do? I don't know, right? You know, so it's like, there's a horrible, and I don't mean to laugh, I just laugh when I'm nervous. There's a horrible feeling of desperately needing help, having your hand out to the universe and being like, where are you? And Hecate is saying, like, I really want to reframe this for you a little bit, in the sense that, what does it mean to receive? What does it mean to receive? And so she wants us to start there. I always look at this diamond, and I always think, the pressure that made this thing, and now what is it capable of? It like refracts light. Okay, so there's also such a power in the resistance to the change, and that's what Hecate is saying. She's saying, believe it or not, there's power in the resistance to change. And that power is, and she's like, I want you to think about this word, initiation. When you're faced with challenges, and when you're faced with changes that you don't want to have to transform through, but you have to, Hecate is like, instead of looking at this as something that crushes you, I want you to always look at she's like showing me, look at your opponent, whether that's doubt, fear, the tyranny of like financial stuff, like all this stuff. Look at fear in the face, and then like, and understand that is an opportunity for an initiation. That's what she's saying, an initiation. And so when we're faced with these cataclysmic events, we're not supposed to like put on like the positivity helmet and hide ourselves from that initiation. That initiation is really important. And so she's she's really coming through to say, like, I'm not invalidating the pain, but I'm showing you what the pain makes and where it leads you. And so look at us. Wow, that's like so intense. Now, of course, we're talking, you know, we have the trickster and the vampire both in their shadow attributes coming out. And I'm going to read this. The shadow attribute of the, let's do it this way. The shadow attribute of the vampire is depleting others for your psychic survival, chronic complaining, and codependency. How many of us, you know, if this is a horrible breakup or a divorce, like how many know exactly what this is, and how many know what it is to be in relationship to this kind of energy, to grow up with this kind of energy? So she's showing me it. She's showing us these shadow attributes. We're going to talk about this. The shadow attribute to trickster is manipulating others through duplicity. All right, she's saying get some cards over that. So we're going to get some cards over this, but do not underestimate. Yeah, so she's saying there's like a really interesting relationship. She's like, you know, Hecate is saying, get rid of the vampiric ones. Like, get rid of, like, there's this like insistence, like that I can feel this power behind her, you know? And she's saying, you do not eat something that's going to make you vomit over and over and over again because they say that they need you. Think about that. Think about this. She's like, think about the sanctity of inside of your body. And like, if someone is depleting your life source and making you sick, you don't keep them around because they need you. That's not, you know, and so that came through so clear because she's saying like, that is the trick. That is what has like, this is the spell that she's like, let's break this, you know, and I'm all for it. Let's break this. You know, the trickster comes in, and this is energy that like, it's like, it is parasitic. It does feed off of life that it can't generate in and of itself. And the reason that the trickster aspect comes in is because this is how the vampire gets its food. And so she's saying, like, let's break this spell of somebody needing you to your own absolute detriment. It's not that we can't need each other. Interdependence is good. But the only reason we have a problem perfecting this idea of interdependence is because we live, she's saying, in a hierarchy that is dominance over submission. It's like baked into it that this is going to be an issue. And so that got me off track a little bit. So I have to like refine. I need water actually. Say what, Hecate? I lost that last bit. Yeah, leave, like, it's okay to leave and it's okay to let go. And so, you know, and she's saying, like, she makes me laugh. She's kind of like saying, like, we all fall short. We all have aspects of this stuff. We can't, like, not look at our own aspects of, like, our relationship to what it is to be dependent and our relationship to what it is to be independent, because this is essentially what this ends up coming down to. And so she's bringing a level of love. Like, remember, we're walking through the valley of death and we're walking with Hecate, and she's showing me, and this is such a cool poem. I don't know where it came from. I said it. It's in one of my other readings. And again, it doesn't exist anywhere I can find it. But, you know, with Hecate, it's like she sees fireflies in the eyes of the damned. And so Hecate is saying, like, I see that you are like a creature of unconditional love. That's obvious. But a creature of unconditional love is not a creature of self-annihilation. And your relationship to sacrifice is what needs to be in question right now, not your relationship to what it is to love unconditionally. She's like, unconditional love and sacrifice are not married. That's really important. And so she says with the trickster and the vampire, like, we're really like tackling the issue of interdependence here and independence. Healthy independence is interdependent. This is sounding this is like a good lecture. Sorry. This, like, every once in a while you're going to hear like this difference between like me, the reader, Lisalee, and like what I'm channeling, because there's a little bit. So there's an authority difference. That's basically what it is. So she's showing me wonder, she's showing me curiosity, and she's showing me heard. And so this is not easy. And like either removing yourself from a situation that is depleting the life out of you, or being removed from for your own good. You know, it's like your guides love you. Your higher self loves you. Like rejection is God's protection sometimes. And so this removal from this parasitic type of relationship that you were in or experience, you know, this could even be something that you were working on that was taking and taking and taking, like no return. And so she's commending your bravery in being able to like take this position and turn it into a position where you climbed up this really slippery, difficult to like grab a hold of, like with your teeth practically, like being shown this pathway up, climbing up with your, like, she's like, it's like climbing up a mountain of glass to get to this point where you're able to look out onto the horizon of your life and say like, I'm brave enough to wonder like what it means to like have a different experience that is better than what happened. And she's understanding there is such a brokenness here. There's so much pain, but she wants to show you what happens with the pain when you take a position to your wounds that isn't ignoring them, that isn't like shushing them away, that isn't like speaking them out of being. When you look at your wounds and you like bring a level of wonder and curiosity without mean judgment, she's like, there's a healing process that is pretty manageable related to going to these wounds, saying this is like, and not fighting with your wound, not telling it to shut up and sit down and leave you alone, because that just exacerbates, like that's, she's showing me like a festering wound, like that infects it really. And so she's like, you know, when you look at what has been taken, when you look at the harm that has been done, when you look at the abuse that has been perpetrated, and these are not small things. These are things that take decades from people. I'm being shown that scene from, what is it? What the heck is that? The Princess Bride, and like that machine, and they're taking like decades out. Like this is not like small potatoes. This is lying, manipulating, and slaving, and prison. This and horrendousness here. This is not small potatoes, but like taking a position towards these horrendously not small potatoes things. That is like, I wonder what can come on the other side of healing. I wonder what it means to let this bleed out, and like how that's going to transform me. Like I wonder what it is that I can like plant in this time of grief that is going to like begin this new growth for me. Like bringing like a curiosity to crisis. Like just sometimes she's like, she shows me a dropper, and this water's dark and like, you know, and there's a dropper and something in the dropper, and she said, you know, bringing curiosity to chaos. She drops the dropper, and then the water clears, and she's like, even if it's still chaos, you can now see through it and begin to see yourself through to the other side. And so she said, like, this idea that you can't bring a sense of wonder and curiosity to your pain the same way that you bring the attention that you have when you like, it's just something else that you have in your arsenal that you're like, she's like, this is a solve that you can begin to use on some of this pain. And she also wants you to know that you have been heard, that when you're crying, like when you are in that traction, when the pain goes through, like it's like a train that like just through the entire body, you're heard. You are heard. And developing a relationship to your spirit guides, to your team, is really important, because you are heard. And so Hecate is saying, it's like a tune. She's showing me a radio. It's like a tuning, you know, tune to the station of being receptive to your guides, to spirit, to whatever like you were able to plug into by way of love and like source energy. Like recognize the angels that are around you. We have angel here. Like this is what's going on right now. Like you're heard. This is what's going on right now. You're heard. And so Hecate wants to sort of like, you know, bring you into the space of like, you are seen. You are heard. And when you feel like you're not seen and you're not heard, this, I saw this somewhere and I'm not going to really know. It's just going to come through. Tell yourself it's okay to feel unseen in your body. It's okay to feel unheard in your body. Why are you going to say that it's okay? Because you're not fighting with the pain. You're holding it and you're tending to it and you're giving it the love that it deserves in that moment when you don't look away. Hecate is like, do you know how disgusting it is when someone looks away from, like, can't even look? You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know why she's showing me this, but she's like, if you were in the position of standing there in pain and then someone walked past you and they wouldn't even look at you because of this feeling of disgust. She's like, that's exactly the experience, like, that you're giving yourself in that moment. There's like a two-part situation. One is like the pain is happening and this person is like in agony. And the other is, I'm disgusted with you. I can't even look at you. So she's like, when you tell your pain, like, it's okay, you're right. Like, sit down. Let's have some tea. Like, let's let you breathe. Let's sob it out. She's showing me this, like, she's like, there's a gift in every single movement, from being in pain, noticing the pain, and then the approach, and then the descent, and then the exit through that pain onto the other side. She's showing me this portal that it creates. She's like, each time that there's a portal that is created in that portal, there's a gift. And so she's showing me that there's a gift in every one of these situations where you have to get your way out, when you have to find your way out. And she's like, so know that you're heard and know that you're led. And apply curiosity and wonder to some of these really tender, painful places. So with the Ten of Pentacles here, let's feel into this for a second. This is such a heavy reading that I'm like, wait a minute, I'm like dizzy. It's like vertigo. So let me just see if I can ground myself a little bit. And then let's see what this Ten of Pentacles is about. You know, what I'm seeing with this Ten of Pentacles is somebody who's got like way too much to do, trying to juggle all of it. This one isn't helping, right? This dog is like, nobody trained it right. Like, this kid over here, like, he's got a runny nose and like, but she's got her hands full right now. And someone over here is taking something, like somebody, like, what's going on? So like, as much as this is the Ten of Pentacles and this is a card of stability, what I'm seeing, I'm like looking at this like ragtag group, and I'm really just seeing this, that your stability was actually feeling a lot like everything else needed your attention. Was someone trying to steal? Like, is this person's needing all your attention? Like this is a you, right? I'm seeing like you as being, you know, trying to hold on to everything while you can't. And it feels like failure. With Hecate, it's like, it's not failure. You can't. Why did you think you could? Where is this value system coming from? This is interesting. There's so much with this card. We're going to have to spend a minute. This is going to be one of those readings that goes for a while, and that's all right. So she's saying, like, who told you that this was success? She's like, there's the outer, the way in which, like, I don't know how to even put this. The difference between, let me listen. She's like, there's a difference between being and doing, which, like, I you know, that's obvious, but there's something more than that. Being and doing. Being, like, by yourself, listening to yourself, like, that's not a thing that there's a external reward for. She's showing me there's no external reward that is giving, like in the reward system, that she's like, you want to know what control is? It's an inadequate reward system. She's like, control is an inadequate reward system. And so when you're measuring yourself against, like, the milestones that the world sets out to you and says, like, all of these outer milestones, like, determine whether you're a success or you're a failure. And she's like, who the hell? Who made those milestones? Where are the rituals? You know, where are the things that we do to mark these transitions that happen, like, organically within our lives that we overcome? She's like, who the hell is dictating the recognition, and why are you buying it? So, and she's like, you know, what about recognize, like, she's like, what if it's about the inner journey? What if it's not being afraid? She's showing me the womb again, to venture into that space of, I don't know the world I'm in or the world I'm going to, but I know I'm being held and I know I'm growing. And I know that this is leading somewhere big. She's like, what about mining like that internal landscape? There aren't rewards that a system outside of yourself that values like, you know, goal, like being production, basically. What do you produce? It's a different kind of success than that. And she's like, and it's breaking an addiction to a type of thinking that is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And inviting in a type of thinking that is listening to the images, to the dreams, wandering a little bit. You know, what is your, who are you? What do you sound like? If someone said, what do you want? Would you even be able to answer that question? What do you want? Can you answer that question? What do you want? What do you need help with? Can you answer either one of those questions? And she's saying, who decided that there's no value in learning how to take care of yourself, learning what your needs are, learning what it is to receive help? Learn it, like she's like, what about the receptive stuff? Somebody decided none of that is worth anything? She's like, there's different kinds of success, but who's telling you what success is and what you're a failure at succeeding in? And so she's like, that value, that is not a value system that is in alignment with what's actually going to make you feel better. So she's like, so stop the measure. Like, this is such a lecture for some people. Just Lisalee piping in, like, this is, she's like, stop measuring against a system of validation that is meant to destroy you, please. Stop measuring against a system of validation that is about outer success, that is meant to devalue you. We don't, she's like, this is like, she's going to repeat herself. Stop measuring yourself against a system of validation that is designed to deplete your sense of worth. Don't anymore. Whew, Hecate, damn. And so she's showing me like that there's a tremendous courage that's needed to not be afraid of this strange and this unknown way of thinking about success differently, way of thinking about yourself like with a different lens, because it's not going to get you outer validation. And she's like, and this is the initiation that I'm talking about here. That's what this card is about. So like she's like bringing it all through. I'm not even picking the cards up, but this is part of what she's saying. You know, this is the reflector. What are you seeing? Who's holding up the mirror? And who's describing like who? Yeah. So she's showing me this. She wants to bring you back to this position of innocence. She wants to like bring us all back into this position of innocence. And so she's showing me, if you're seeking your answers she's like, if you're on a quest and seeking the answers within, where you're going to find the answers to what it is that is in, like, what is in alignment with you. Well, first you need to know, like, you know, again, like you're like listening to your own voice, like hugging yourself, you know what I mean? Like taking care of your pain, picking it up, holding it, patting it on the back, being like, we're going to be okay. Why? Because I'm here with you. There's a presence. Bringing your presence to your pain is huge. And she's like saying like, that is power. And she's like, I invite you, this is initiation. I invite you into this initiation where we look away from this prescription of failure. And she's like, this is a prescription of failure for everyone. And when we look away from that prescription of failure and we don't measure ourselves against it, and we start to ask questions of within. Instead of asking questions of everything outside of you to validate, you know, like, am I worth something? Well, what do I make? She's like, don't ask that question. Don't ask what I'm worth to the outer like realm of like, what do I make? That's not going to tell you anything about your value. Like finding your worth within, that means looking within. And if you look within, you're gonna piss off people who get their value from looking out. All right, that's people who are outer focused in that way are going to look at you seeking answers within, and looking at you trying to teach yourself how to love yourself, how to care for yourself, how to heal yourself. They're going to look at all that inner work and they're going to judge it, and they're going to say it's not worth anything. But Hecate says, but they're the ones who are the slaves to the external systems of validation. Don't let them get mad at you for not wanting to be enslaved anymore. That's like, don't let that hinder your progress and your drive to look within to make your way out. Because this is this initiation. This is this courage. Wow. I have to sit here for a second, guys. I need to grab myself again. This is coming through really strong. Oh my God. I need water. Every once in a while, you're going to hear me break with the channel because I need to. This is so heavy, right? Oh my God. All right. So, Hecate is saying, meditation promotes well-being, but when you're in a fucking traumatic hellhole of a situation, this isn't really possible. It is possible. Of course, you can enter these states of calm, but she's like, when your whole system is as cat on a hot tin roof, when people are you can just, take some of those deep breaths. She's like, I've seen this before. I said it before or something. It's giving someone chamomile tea for severe insomnia. No, you know what I mean? But, and so she's like, so there's a lot of pressure, external pressure of how to be spiritually successful. And she's like, she is saying, come on, this doesn't apply to people who are in hell. This really doesn't apply to the valley of death. Not when your coping skills are no match for the situation you find yourself in. Sit down and breathe it out is not. She's like, there's something to be said for being in this position and being in this state and being in this vulnerability where you can't even read, where you can't even calm down. And so she's saying that you can't outrun that darkness necessarily. She's like, what you can do is understand that only in the darkness can we see the stars. And so what Hecate is saying, she's like, don't think you're a failure because you can't blast out your sadness with mantras of positivity. She's like, don't think that you're a failure for that. She's like, no, understand that sometimes the dark is the dark for a reason. And that when you find yourselves in those depths, those initiations into transitions and transformation, which is basically what you're here for in the way of soul expression. We're here for this. This is what we signed up for. And she's saying, when you find yourselves in this darkness, what are you going to do? You're going to start looking for the stars. You're going to start looking for the fireflies. And she's like, because there's something really valuable there. Do not be afraid of the unconscious mind. Do not be afraid of what happens in a womb. She's like, this is the part of the divine feminine, this watery, very, what is that? I'm looking. It's strange and beautiful, honestly. And because it's strange and beautiful, it acts like a veil. And when Hecate showed up, she had a veil. And I was like, what are you showing me? And so she's showing me, don't be afraid of what you don't completely understand, because there's so much power in the mystery. And so Hecate is also inviting us back to mystery. And she's like, come back to the mystery. She's like, you're tired. She's like, you're tired of fighting. You are tired of fighting. Look how tired you are of fighting. You're tired of fighting. She's really feeling it. She's like, shh. There's this she's like, no. Do not fight. Find yourself in this darkness. Look for the stars. Look for those fireflies. That's listening to it. That she said, and that is the act of listening to your own voice and hearing what it says. Connecting with your own inner voice. Connecting with your inner allies. Connecting with spirit. She's like, those moments of connection. She's like, these are the stars that you can only see in this dark. And this connection is invaluable. And so she's like, so put down the fight that you have going with all of these negative feelings and emotions. Put down the fight that you have going with trying to be so effing strong. You are strong. You know why I know you're strong? Because we're in this reading together and I can feel your energy and you're damn strong. Look how big this problem looks. And look how small this person feels. Hecate is saying, like, you know, just this is the wrong place to, you're not going to beat whatever this is in their arena. You're not going to beat this playing by their rules in their arena. In the outer, you know, if you try to like battle this out for validation, like externally, it's just, she's like, because you're actually, let me get some cards on this. She's like showing me, get good cards, good cards. All right, all right. Oof, where are they? Where's that deck? Oh, here it is. So let me just get some cards for this. That Five of Swords, she's like, yeah, you got to do battle sometimes. Sometimes we have to go into battle. She's like, you're going into battle every morning right now. You know, doing this work, being involved in this transition. Like, she's like that butterfly, you know, like we're looking at I'm always getting shown this. You know, when the butterfly, before the butterfly turns into a butterfly, the worm turns to mush. She's like, don't be afraid to turn into mush. Don't condemn yourself for turning into mush. Mush is what the butterfly comes from. She's like, go to mush. And she's like, I know that there are so many that do not feel supported. And she's like, well, then I just have to tell you to acknowledge that you're heard. She's like, because there's a difference between, she's like, there is a mantra of, I have no support, that is not false. But you know what else isn't false? Like, you are heard. So she's like, you know, being able to understand that, like, there are two things going on there. Wait, I lost the train for a second. I got like, there was like a level of pain with that just kind of knocked me off the channel. Give me 1 second. Whoa. Where the hell did I don't know. I don't know where we are. That was so intense that like I couldn't handle that level of pain as a reader. I like bounced back into. All right, Hecate, let's go back to where this is. You know, I think what it is like so many of you do not feel heard by anyone, and like the idea that you are is like, are you crazy? and I felt this pain. It knocked me right out of being able to channel. So, you know, like I hear you because I just felt that, and I hear you, and you know, I agree with you that there's just like no simple answer. There's no like trite thing I can say about like self-care that is going to make that's going to make you feel like your needs are getting met when it doesn't look like they're getting met. And so I can pick up the channel again now. And so Hecate is coming back in to say, like, it's an acceptance. You know, she's like, you know, so much of the pain and like the degree of pain, we want to say like there's nothing helping. And she's like, but you know, the presence of the pain does not negate the fact that there are people, that there's a system of support, and there's a spiritual system of support that hears you. And so she's like, please accept that the truth is the truth when I say that. And, you know, so it's like this little bit of acceptance over that pain that you are in fact heard. And she's like, and I promised you, when you feel that genuinely that you're heard, that's where with the solve. She's like, and you know, that's where the healing comes in. It's like that moment when you agree with me that you're heard. And she's like, and this is you are, you know. Of course, like, you know, so she's showing me with this fear over here related to not being heard, like this terror about being left alone. You know, like this is a point in time where your foundation is shaken to the very core. And she's like, you know, 10 of Pentacles here in the reverse, like we're feeling like 4 of Pentacles. 4 of Pentacles is freaking terrifying. How am I going to do this? How the hell am I going to do this? Can I do this? Do I have enough to do this? Am I enough to do this? Can I survive this? Like, this is real. That's the pain I'm feeling it now. That's the pain that knocked me off of being in. That's insane. Like, that's an intense terror. I feel your terror right now. Can I breathe some into this? I'm going to breathe a little bit into this terror. So give me like 2 seconds, because I want to breathe into this a little. Am I enough to overcome this? You are enough to go. You are enough. I'm breathing in that you are enough. Because I know you are, because I can feel it. But anyway, so you are enough to overcome this. And so Hecate is saying, like she's showing me this really interesting thing. Oh my God, how can I translate this? So if this is like a body self-concept thing, and she's like, and it's broader than that. So like, we're going to come back to trying to reconfigure a couple of things. So, you know, she's showing me a body, and she's showing someone looking at their body, and she's showing me like this person is like, I don't like this, I don't like that. And she's saying, ask this question. And so I'm going to ask it, what part of your body do you not like? Hold the answer in your mind. And then she said, who told you that your body was in parts? She's like, your body is a temple. Your body is holy. Who told you it was in parts? Do you see how deceived you've been? And so she's saying, like, when we think about the scarcity, and when we look at ourselves and we see like what we don't have, instead of understanding this is a holy temple and that it isn't in parts, it's in whole. Like, why is, she's like, why do you think your body is parts? And so as fascinating, you know, and right, because of, you know, medical whatever, but you know, like she's saying, no, like the way that you judge it is as if each part needs to be replaced, like you're a car. She's like, you're not a car. And so she's like bringing me back to like, when you think of the not enough, whether it be in terms of like your talent or what you look like, you know, when you get to that, like that, when you're like, I don't feel like an adult, I feel like a child, and I feel like a child that has to like act like an adult, and I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm scared. And she's saying, measured against what? Because she's like, the power is in the definition that you give it. You know, like when you say to yourself, I'm not enough because I don't look a certain way, the power is in the way that you deliver this to yourself. You know, if I don't have the criteria to make enough money, I don't have the job experience, I don't have a resume, I don't have a friend, right? These are all deficits that like make us think that we can't create from that space. And Hecate is saying, well, no, this is really, she's like, there's a lot of power in, you know, seeing that something needs to be transformed, having that fear. There's a lot of power in the fear of seeing the need for transformation. And she's like, there's a ton of strength even in like resistance. And she's like, and you are absolutely enough, but not if you're looking at this external system of validations that's been designed to help you fail. And she's like, instead, look at the internal resources that are there and your connection with spirit that is designed to help you succeed. And she's like, and turn off that radio station with that song that keeps playing that says, like, you need something besides like it's like being in the womb and hearing a song that says like, you need light, you know what I mean? No, you're growing in there, and like the light that's coming in is like enough for the growing in there. Like, it's all provided for you. You're on the place that you're supposed to be. And the fetus in that womb like doesn't know that there's a world outside of it, and there's no one showing up with a clipboard of information to explain the situation. And so she's saying, like, you know, that feeling of unknowing doesn't mean that there's not growth, and doesn't mean that there isn't like a new world outside of that womb. And so she's like, so, you know, when you find yourself in this position of feeling like I am not enough, understand that there's power in that. And that's like the call for transformation, and that the transformation, you're going to transform. And there's strength in that process. And that process, like, that's what we come back to. Like, that's this initiation. All right, King of Wands, Three of Swords, and the Fool in reverse. There's going to be like a little bit of waffling between where you want to be and where you actually are, what you have to heal through and where you actually want to be. Like, there's going to be a tension there. She's like, there's no wisdom in jumping off a cliff with a broken heart that's not healed. Because you're just going to, like, what's going to happen when, you know, she's like, the fact that you haven't had like this enthusiastic new beginning with all of this with the Fool is because you have a really intense broken heart. Like, is this bird able to fly? No. Is it a bird's natural state of being to fly? Yes. Is a bird that can't fly in a kind of agony? Yes. Is a bird that can't fly like in a position to start a migration? no. No. And so Hecate says, like, you know, I see where you want to be, you see where you want to be, and where you want to be is that is right. That is absolutely right. And she's like, but there's a space to honor here in this healing, in this in between. And she's saying, yes, this is your birthright. This is where you're going. This King of Wands, this confidence, this passionate new life. Like, absolutely. But you're going to show up as the king. You're not going to show up as a broken bird who can't fly, trying to make a migration. And there's no way to have this new beginning with swords through your heart. Like, there's a way to have the new beginning with swords through your heart. But she's like, the healing is a part of this journey. And like, and don't bully yourself into thinking you're being too slow about it. Or don't bully yourself into thinking you need to be somewhere faster than you are. Don't bully yourself at all. Do not judge yourself harshly when you're bleeding out. Please, Hecate says, do not judge yourself harshly when you are bleeding out. Don't judge yourself for your pace when your pace is thwarted with agony. Like, she's like, why would that judgment help? And so she's basically saying, like, there's love here, you know, there really is. But, you know, this is a tower moment, you know? And she's like, I'm being shown the Hierophant. This is going to be marriage, you know, this can be a partnership. This is going to be something that is, like, established and structured your life. She's showing me it's something that established and structured your life. Tower. A tower in the reverse, usually I think of this as like an internal collapse, but this is definitely tower. Like, this is tower, and it's also an internal collapse. And so she's like, not only is the external structures like falling apart for you, but she's like, the internal structures have all fallen apart for you too. And she's like, there's help, but let's just call this horrible. Because if we call it anything but horrible, we're really doing ourselves a disservice in honoring our process, because part of our process is the transformation. Part of the transformation is the call to accept that a transformation is required, to be brave in that, to like take that transformation again, become mush, to become the butterfly. She's like, this is a process. The death and the rebirth is not, you can't just ignore part of the process. Like, we all go through it. Every season, every time you look out and upon seasons, this is the example. First things die and become mush. And then from mush springs life. So she's like, don't knock becoming mush for a little while, because from there springs life. And she's like, and that's the healthy way to do it. And she says, like, this isn't about external resources and like not having the room in your life to give yourself this kind of attention. She's like, I understand that like the tyranny of the structures in place like are part of the problem. But if you're condemning yourself based on those structures and your ability to like work within them, she's like, that's adding such a level of condemnation on something that's already so tender and painful. She's like, and you know, we hear you. And we're telling you, like, be nicer to yourself about this. There's something really generative about being in mush. You know, this is a time of planning with the Two of Wands. But it's not a time of condemnation in your planning. If you're planning and you're like, I can't do that and this and the other. Well, like, again, where's the stars in the dark? Where's the fireflies? What do they even look like? What does connecting those dots lead to? What kind of constellation are you traveling towards? So when we find alignment, sometimes it's not just the yellow brick road. Well, fake alignment is the yellow brick road sometimes. But like when we find alignment, sometimes it's connecting the dots as we go along and then figuring out the star system that we're in when we're able to see the constellation as a whole. But it is a process. And so this is a time of planning. And she's like, don't bring the condemnation. She's like, wonder and curiosity. Let's apply the wonder and the curiosity to the terror of the unknown. She's like, that'll do wonders for it. And she's showing me the dropper and the murky water and the dropper of wonder and curiosity. And she's like, into that murky, and she goes, boop, and then it starts to clear. With the Three of Wands here, like, she's like, you are going to see a return on your efforts. You're going to see a return on your love. She's like, you know, nothing's wasted here. And then I feel this angry, like, flying at me as a reader. And Hecate is responding. And she's like, be angry. I'm not afraid of your anger. Throw it at me. She's talking to somebody in very particular. And I'm just, like, delivering the message to that person. Hecate is saying, throw it at me. Be angry at me. Curse at me. I can take it. You need to let that shit out. Badly. She's like, because the blessings that I have for you, there's like not a way to get those. If you can't let that anger, like you need to release it. So Hecate's like, I can take it. Curse at me if you want. That's what a mother does. Ooh, Hecate. Like, I'm weird because she's like, I'm channeling and I'm like, I can't, as a reader, I can't take it. Don't, not at me. But yeah, but like Hecate is bringing this through. Like, you know, she's saying, like, don't be afraid to like have an explosive moment of rage when someone tells you it's going to be okay, because there's nothing okay. And this brings it back to like when someone says, what do you need help with? You don't know, right? That's how bad it is. And so she's saying, like, you know, that needs to be worked with. So when she says you're going to get a return on your love, you're going to get a return on your efforts. You're going to learn what it is to fly. You're going to understand that there's a world outside of the womb that you're in, and that world's really big and bright. But you're not seeing it now, and that's okay. It's just faith that when I tell you you're going to get a return on your efforts, that you believe me, and that doesn't hurt anything. And she's like, and when you have rage and when you have sadness that comes up when I say that, she's like, when that comes up, she's like, let me have it. I'm your mom. She's like, you know, she's like, this is what a goddess is, a mother, you know? And she's like, this is what a mother does. She holds your pain with you. And if you don't have that kind of mother, that's understandable. I didn't. A lot of us don't. But Hecate is saying, like, I'm that kind of mother. So listen to me when I tell you you're going to get a return on your efforts, because I'm telling you you're going to get a return on your efforts. And your faith, that agreement in what I'm saying is, she's like, that's the key to the door that allows you to receive them. And with the Eight of Swords here, this is what we were just talking about with the Eight of Swords. Oh my God. Just because you can't see your way out doesn't mean that there isn't a way out. And like, and the way to find that way out, it's not going to be through your regular eyeballs. You know, in the traditional card, she's got a mask on. She can't see. You got to see through. You have to look in to understand that. Like, so she's showing me something cool. So we're looking at the traditional card, the Eight of Swords. And the person in the middle has a blindfold on, and there's swords all around them. But right in front of them, if they were to walk straight, there's one sword missing. There's a path out, and they just don't know that it's there. And so she's saying, like, you have to have faith. You need to, like, be able to look in. She's like, and understand that your body has its own wisdom, and reconnect with that body's wisdom. And then you need to feel around you. And she's like, and then you'll know that there's not a sword in front of you. There might be swords around you, but your body, your kinesthetics, like, that's looking within. That's like that's the intuition of the body. That's reconnecting with the divine feminine energy. And she's like, and there's this magic right there. There's no path. There's nothing blocking your path. You can feel it from the core forward. And you move into that without sight. You don't have sight. This is faith. And she's like, your faith is so strong. It will move mountains. Never mind showing you that there's nothing in front of you that is blocking you. And so she's like, and so there's that's, ooh, man, that's like, I need a drink of water over here. Hold on. We're almost done. This is a lot. But, you know, she's showing me here, like, this conflict, putting down this conflict with yourself in order to move forward. You know, it's not hating that part of you that has needs. It's really important that you don't hate that part of you that has needs. There's, you know, and she's like, and let yourself be instead of do. She's like, you know, there's this relation, and like, you know, there's a hokey way in which this is said that I've heard, but she's like showing me, like, being is just like listening really hard to yourself, like being with yourself, being a presence with what you're feeling. And she's like, and people might just think that that's like the way that the external world might view that moment is like it's some kind of a failure to achieve. And she's like, but it's not. She's like, there's a lot growing in that womb, right? She's like, in the dark, there's a lot that grows, and it brings forth tremendous life, let me tell you. She's like, but the fetus doesn't know that. Wow. Okay. What do we have here? This is the Three of Swords. Right now, this is the Six of Swords. Whoa. That looked like the Three of Swords to me. And like, you know what? It definitely looks like Six of Swords. So that's telling me something. You're moving into calmer waters with all of this. But sometimes like calm and heartbreak are together. And so Hecate is like, there is a calm in heartbreak, and in being in heart, and sitting, being, not doing. Can't do anything. Doing with heartbreak, nah, that's a bad combination. She's like, but being with heartbreak, it will bring peace. When you refuse to be with heartbreak, it will bring anxiety. when you decide to be with your heartbreak, it will bring peace. And it will move you into calmer waters. It's the presence with the pain that is this alchemy of healing that she's encouraging you to make use of. Yeah, this is the Four of Swords. This is a time of healing for you. And it's a time of healing for you related to this Hierophant. And so in this particular Hierophant, she's like, I am inviting you through this initiation process. And she's like, and I'm inviting you to think of it as an initiation process into the transformation between where you are and where you're going to be as a butterfly, and the mush that is part of that walking through that valley of death and letting certain things die and grieving and being let out through faith, really. And so she's saying, this is the Holy of Holies. In this particular card, I'm seeing the Hierophant. She's showing me, look at the Holy of Holies. Understand what this initiation leads to. The value in what you get taking this journey and transforming through to the other side of what this is. Just like the value that you get. That's a structure that's going to hold you for the rest of your life. Not this other one. This is the external structure. Of course that failed. Why? Because part of the goal of what you're doing in this lifetime is to learn that there's this internal structure that will not fail you. And she's like, the strength and the confidence and the ability to manifest from that position. She's like, that's more valuable than any of the stuff that you think you lost with this. She's like, this is a gift of invincibility. And this is a gift of being able to harness what you are meant to do in the world. And like, she's like, this is a gift. That like being a butterfly, it's a gift. Even if you have to mourn what it was to be an inchworm. I think that turns into a moth. But yeah, like she's like, she loves moths, actually. She's like showing me this array of beautiful moths. And she's like, don't knock the moth. But that's the thing. Be like this is you. This is this death and this rebirth. This is this transition that marks a major growth cycle in your life. She's like, that's what you celebrate. Not the milestones that they put out in front of you that tell you you're a failure if you didn't do this, that, and the other. And didn't get this party, that party, and the other party, and this time, that time, and the other. She's like, the hell with that. That's an external system of validation designed to make you feel like a failure. So that you think you need, and so that you consume and consume and consume. And she's like, but this is a process designed, going within, finding that inner voice, making that journey through that mush and into that transformation. And then she's like, that's when you celebrate. That's when you get celebrated. That's a real pivot point in life and a transition. That is your party, when you have your party. And she's like, and toss out that external validation stuff, because this is entering this new version of yourself that has this strength and this capacity and this ability that comes from taking the journey that you just took. She's like, this is worth it. Trust me when I tell you this is worth it. And so this is where we're going to close the reading, and she's inviting us to come into this space together before we close this out. I'm feeling this energy is like, I can't even begin to tell you how powerful this energy feels. And so we're going to go into this space, and we're going to pull out a couple of cards from this. And we're just going to get a nice, beautiful send-off of love. She's like, open your hand, hold your hand out. Open your hand to receive. Look what I have for you. It's a new system of values. It's a system that values you. And it starts with you valuing you. And from that place, you'll learn what it is that you like and you don't like. What can and cannot help you. That's your value system once you figure it out. And she's like, and it's not something you have to figure it out on your own. She's like, this is me. I heard you. Take my hand. Let's walk through this valley. Let's find the stars. Let's find the fireflies. Let's find our way out. Let's find our way out with a map that can lead others. This is what we're doing right now. You're about to transform. This is a gift. Hold your hand out and receive it. Whoa. Oh my gosh, guys, that was really powerful. What just moved through me, some of you probably felt it. It was like really, really powerful. So let's just get some cards here. Oh my gosh, I feel so intense. Listen to your inner music. That's really, you know, she's like, there's an ancient song that you've forgotten. She's like, it's your soul song. She's like, you can hear it if you listen. If you listen for it, you're gonna hear it. It whispers your name. And relaxation does promote healing. She's like, all of this striving and being mad at yourself because you're not, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3. She's like, no, listen to dreams. Listen to your inner voice. That's your, you know, that's your image. That's your voice. That's our image. That's our voice, she says. And she's like, this is how you get there. You don't get there that's their way. That's the old way. You don't get there. That path isn't the way. You can't get there through the external system of validation. You can't. She's like, get there through the internal validation system. She's like, that's relaxation. That's allowing. That is allowing yourself to heal. And she's like, and it's a state of being. She's like, you can move yourself into that state of being standing on a subway platform if you have to, because all you need to do is reach your hand out and say, Hecate, help me. I'm drowning. And she's like, and then I'll show you how you can reach that state of being no matter where you are. So she's like, it's not about the external circumstances. She's like, this is the inner journey we're talking about. Different rules. She's like, you can be calm in the middle of a war. She's like, if you know how to access that. And it's okay to take your time. It is okay to take your time with this healing process. Celebrate the little things in everyday life. Every day that you get up and that you manage through that day, you celebrate the fact that that mush is what's going on right now, and then you are working your way out of it little bits at a time. And she's like, don't condemn yourself about failure or time or anything. Every day you just have to wake up and you say, I am in my transformation. I have faith that this is, I apply myself to moving through this transformation, and I attend to it with curiosity, and I attend to it in wonder, because it's taking me somewhere with a lot of power to come to wonder and curiosity with all of this feeling. So you celebrate every single time. She's like, your reward system is totally broken based on this abuse from these eternal validation system. And she's like, it's going to be a different reward system. It's going to be listening inside. You're listening to your voice inside, and you're asking, like, what will be a reward because I got through this, and because I'm in the mush, and because I'm transforming? What would reward me for knowing to, like, call out to whatever deity or whatever source, you know, has, like, you connect with? And she's like, and then you're going to be listening, and that's going to be a value system that's going to reveal itself to you. This is the process. How do you get to knowing the value system that is going to reveal itself to you? You say, like, what could be rewarding? Even if you can't come up with anything, it doesn't matter. You listen for it. And, like, you know, maybe not, like, she's like, it's not necessarily an instant gratification situation. She's like, nothing's searching, you know, really, nothing in the dark is. It's searching in the dark. Again, think about the womb, think about what's growing, think about what doesn't know, like, what it is to move beyond that space. She's like, embrace and have faith that there is life after this. She's like, because they're bigger and more profound than you could ever imagine. And so that we're being left with that promise right there, bigger and more profound than you could possibly imagine. And now we're going to leave this reading, and we're going to go ground and get back into, like, having that reverence for this new receptivity and the mystery that we're stepping into. And she's like, welcome to the mysteries. This is your initiation. There's so much here for you. And so let's end with that. It was such an honor to do this reading, and I'll see y'all again soon.